And I am so thankful to have you here with me. Thank you, as always, for being a part of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. Appreciate your patience and appreciate hanging out with you inside of these Cafe Kubal studios. Cafe Kubal coming to you 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, and 401 South Salina Street. You can also find them, and those are all in Syracuse. You can also find them on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, in their giant behemoth of a brown straight building. I call it the Welcome Center of Manlius because all those roads converge right in to Cafe Kubal out there in Manlius. So make sure you go out and check them out today at their double decker cafe, and of course you can also find them on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners. And that is nostalgic, obviously, to the wonderful community of Central and Upstate New York, and their drive-thru is located right there on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners, right by the airport. So make sure you head out there today, and we thank you so much for supporting local. With that being said, so excited about this week. This is officially the ACC preview week on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So we're going to be previewing the entire ACC, and I cannot wait for this. I'm very excited about it. A lot of great stuff coming up here. So we're going to preview the entire ACC, all 14 schools, and we will have them all throughout the week. So from today here on Monday, August, and this is the great thing about it. August begins today. Our ACC preview week begins today, and our previewing of the college football season begins today, and in the NFL as well will be coming up. So this is ACC preview week. We'll have AAC, American Athletic Preview Week, next week, and I have representation from every single team of the ACC, every single team of the American, the commissioners of both. So we're going to get into everything on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. So you definitely don't want to miss a moment of anything we have going on any of the weeks, including this week for ACC Preview Week. And we're going to start off Preview Week with 4 teams today. We spent about a half an hour on each. May spend a little bit more time here out of the gate here with Syracuse, as you know, cover them cover all the schools in the Atlantic Coast Conference in the ACC, and Syracuse, boots on the ground a lot in my hometown. And so we'll talk about a lot of different things here. But Syracuse, Boston College, Florida State, and NC State will all be covered here today. You're going to hear from every single one of their head coaches in my one-on-one Q&As with them, and you'll also hear from student athletes from each of those institutions. So this is an ACC preview week like you'll never get anywhere else, because I've had the opportunity to sit and speak with their representation from the student athlete side of things, as well as the head coach side of things. And we're going to, like I said, be doing this all throughout the week. So we have all 14 schools going to be on the broadcast, including the commissioner's thoughts, which we've gotten into a little bit this past week. So very excited about this. We'll have every team from the Atlantic Division, every team from the Coastal, and we're starting things off today with 4 of those teams, as we have the opportunity to bring you Syracuse, Boston College, Florida State, and NC State this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Once again, I hope you're having a great day, and I appreciate you wherever you're coming from. Thank you so much for tuning in to the broadcast, whether you are on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/livenowdt, mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.com every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So I thank you so much for that. Thank you for connecting the show where sports meets life. So big ups to all of you, and many thanks to being a part of this show. And like I said, I can't thank you enough for hanging out with us every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So much appreciation for that, and very excited for all that we're going to be getting into here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora this morning. Is going to be a lot of information on the ACC, these 4 schools that we have here today. We're going to start with Syracuse, like I said. Then we will move forward from Syracuse into Boston College, and then we'll go from Boston College to Florida State and wrap today's show up with NC State as we kick off ACC preview week. Very excited to do that with you. So we're going to get things set here first and foremost with Dino Babers and what he had to say when I had the opportunity to speak with him on a couple different subjects. So we'll get into that first here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and then you'll hear from the student athletes. Syracuse is up first, and my conversation with Dino Babers is the first one on the docket here. Always happy to speak with Dino and always appreciate his time, as Dino Babers and I had an opportunity to talk going into this 2022-23 football season and get his take on a couple different things. So we'll start off the conversation with Dino first and foremost this morning in his thoughts in ACC kickoff week as we start things off with Syracuse, and we'll hear what Dino Babers had to say about the offensive hires is where we're going to start things off here. And did not mean to, in this moment, forget anybody that was coming on. I asked him specifically about Coach Anai, the new offensive coordinator, Robert Anai, coming from Virginia, and as well as Jason Beck coming from Virginia with him as the quarterback's coach. And this is what Dino Babers had to say when we had the opportunity to speak about that.
I got it.
Dan Tortora, WakeUpCallEasy.com. How are you, Coach?
Good.
I'm doing very well. Going into this season with year number 7, we have seen obviously some changes with the coaching staff and whatnot, and I know bringing in a new offensive coordinator and quarterback coach, just what you could say they've already done to improve this team, in your opinion, and the leadership moving forward for Syracuse.
Right after you got through the coordinator, I did hear the word that you said there was a whole key to the last part.
Just what, bringing in Coach Anai and Coach Beck, just what they've done already, in your opinion, what felt right to bring them into the program, and what you see on the offensive side that's going to provide good leadership moving forward.
Well, first of all, I liked what they were doing over at Virginia. Look at the numbers they were putting up. Coach Anai is someone that I've never worked with before, but we walked the same path. He was a graduate assistant at the University of Hawaii after I was. He played for BYU when I was playing at the University of Hawaii. They won a lot bigger. That game only came down to Hawaii versus BYU back in the day, not there who was going to represent the Western Athletic Conference. And I know a lot of the people that he knows. He knows a lot of people that I know. I just felt like he was one of those guys that never came available, but I really think it would be a good fit because we really do kind of see things the exact same way. Having the opportunity to bring Coach Beck along was just icing on the cake, and he has done a fabulous job for us. I think he's one of the bright minds in college football, one of the up-and-comers. I don't want to miss out on the two other new coaches that we brought along. Michael Johnson, the wide receiver coach, was actually a player at Arizona State when I was a graduate assistant there back in the 80s with their Rose Bowl team in 1987. So he's someone that I followed his career. He's been in the NFL, he's been in college football. He's really done a fantastic job with our wide receivers, and I think that tripod of new coaching has really helped us on that side of the ball. One of the things that we really wanted to shore up from last year's football team was the special teams, and I would be amiss if I did not talk about the addition of Bob Ligashevsky, someone that we hired from Bowling State University. Before that, he was at the University of Illinois. Another coach that spent time in collegiate and pro football. He's won a Super Bowl ring with the Pittsburgh Steelers, handling the special teams. So we felt that the coaches that we had on the staff and being able to bring those forward coaches with their experience and to use them in what we had, we really feel like that we're on stable ground and we're ready to see if we can make one of those jumps and make one of those moves in the ACC right now.
Happy to have the opportunity, like I said, to speak with Dino Babers and get his thoughts right on this upcoming season, because it's important. And these new coaches coming in, Dino has changed his coaching staff pretty much every single season, right? So as he heads into year number 7, we see a continuation of this changing of, staff members underneath him at Syracuse. And so now the question is, what's going to happen with these with these new coaches, and is it going to work, and is it going to come through? There's been a lot of offensive coordinators at Syracuse, so now, it's about seeing how this is really going to shake itself out and where Syracuse football is going to go, right? Because it doesn't look great to see that, this staff has consistently changed, either because somebody wanted to leave or because they were sent packing. So, having these new coaches in on the coaching staff, and like I said, I asked about Coach Anai, Robert Anai, and Jason Beck, specifically coming from Virginia in the same conference as as Syracuse in the ACC, but in the other division, and divisions will be gone after that this year. Robert Anai, the offensive coordinator, tight ends coach, and inside receivers coach, and Jason Beck, the quarterbacks coach. He also mentioned bringing on Bob Ligashevsky, Coach Lig, the special teams coordinator, as Syracuse last season he went an entire season without a coordinator, and you saw how not pretty that looked. And then the outside receivers coach, Michael Johnson, coming on to the team. So those are your new faces here on this team. And also cool, Coy Detmer Jr. Remember Coy Detmer, who played quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. Coy Detmer Jr. is a grad assistant on the team. Kendall Coleman, who played on the defensive line, is still a grad assistant. He's on the offensive side of the ball, though. Interesting thing here for him. And so, there are some different pieces here that have moved around, of course. So getting to ask Dino about those staff changes and what that does for the team, it's important, because it's important to see if they can finally get clicking, finally get right in this, the 7th season for Dino Babers. Now let's see what Greg said. Answering questions regarding new coaches and coordinators is certainly not new for Coach Dino. Yeah, and going off of what I had to say here about the fact that the staff continues to change. We continue our ACC preview week with Syracuse and Dino Babers. We've just gotten started. For those of you coming in, thank you so much. Being here inside the Cafe Kubal studios and inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', the first 4 teams inside of ACC preview week on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Syracuse, then Boston College, Florida State, and NC State will all be on the broadcast today in my one-on-one conversations with head coaches as well as their student athletes. So we'll get back into Dino, and the new 3-5-5 schedule is coming up. After this season, the ACC will be dissolving their divisions, and we know from 2023 to 2026, we already have the schedule set in place of who's going to be playing who in this 3-5-5 model. For those of you that don't know, many coaches will be talking about this today. I asked a lot of the coaches in the ACC about the 3-5-5 model, and so what it means for those that may not know, 3 means the 3 permanent opponents that you play every year in the ACC. So for Syracuse, that's Boston College, Pitt, and Florida State. They'll play them every year. If they played BC Pitt at home in 2023 and Florida State on the road, then that would flip to Florida State at home, BC and Pitt on the road the following season, but they will play each other every season. The 5 and the 5, the first 5, that's 5 opponents you're going to play in the ACC that aren't your permanent opponents. And then the next 5 stands for the other 5 you didn't play that year that you'll play the following year. So if you stay in college and you play 4 seasons of college football at Syracuse, you will have played your permanent opponents every year, and you will have played the other 10 schools. You would have played them each twice, once at home and once away. So the benefit of this model is you take your top 2 teams from the ACC overall. So if you're in a season where Clemson goes 12-0 and Florida State goes 11-1, you're not taking Pittsburgh at 7-5 on the other side. You're taking the top 2 teams, which will potentially help with bowl hopes and bowl berths and whatnot. And it also allows for a really cool environment where you're actually playing your conference. Because Miami and Syracuse, Miami hasn't been to the Dome in like a million years. And so and Syracuse has played Duke a ton of times from the Coastal Division, and then other teams very sparingly. So this will allow you to have 3 permanent opponents, which for Syracuse, Pitt, and BC, that's understood. Florida State's kind of a wild card. And then the 5-5, right? 2023, you play these 5. 2024, you play the other 5. 2025, you play the 5 you played in. So if you think of 2023 is year 1, and then we do 2, 3, 4, right? 2023 to 2026. You play your opponents in year 1, those 5. You play the other 5 in year 2. Then you go back to the ones you played in year 1 and year 3, but you flip. So the homes are away, the aways are home. And then the 4th year, you go back to the teams you played in year 2, and you flip those. So if Miami was on the road, now Miami's at home. That's what it looks like. That's the 3-5-5 model. If you have more questions, I'll be happy to answer them. This is what Dino had to say about the 3-5-5 when I had the opportunity to speak with him about it.
You know, we look at the fact that we have divisions here in the ACC for one more season, and then we'll switch to that 3-5-5 model. What is it about the model that you like, and the fact that Syracuse will have VC, who you already play, Pitt, who you already play, but you'll have Florida State as a permanent as well? Just what you think about that model moving forward.
You know, I think that's a similar model that when I was in the Big 12 when we were in the Big 12 earlier, we had divisions when I was at Texas A&M. We were in the same division as Oklahoma, same division as Texas, same division as Texas Tech. And we had a drought where we really had to play some good football to get out of that division. Okay, that's when I was at Texas A&M. When I went to Baylor, and we started that same way with Baylor being in the division with Texas A&M and the people I talked about. And then we went to that model where we could play everybody. That was one of the big turnarounds with the Baylor schedule. I can still remember when I was a coach at school other than Baylor that they used to run this thing on the ticker on ESPN. They used to say schools that had not gone to a bowl game. And I still remember seeing Vanderbilt and Baylor on the bottom all the time. And then next thing you know, I was at Baylor after UCLA, and they used to run Baylor across that ticker. When we finally went to a bowl game at Baylor, I'll never forget it. I want to talk to ESPN about this. The year that we went to a bowl game and they stopped running off that Baylor had never gone to a bowl game, they stopped doing the ticker. You've never seen the ticker since. So the last 2 schools I remember was Vanderbilt and Baylor, and then they never did it again. Point being is this, that schedule of being able to play everybody, I thought really helped Baylor in that turnaround. And we love being a part of the Atlantic, and we make no bones about it. But I think it's going to be a lot better for a lot of people when they get an opportunity to play everybody in the league and not just a select few.
So that coming from Dino, getting to play everybody and not just a select few, that he likes that, that he likes that situation, that we're going to be able to see that, and bringing up the fact that, when he was at Baylor and there was the information out there that Baylor and Vanderbilt had never made a bowl game, and he said, and then once Baylor made it, they stopped running the ticker. So obviously bringing that up, saying like, hey, why didn't you, give us a little bit more credit? So, that coming from Dino Babers and his thoughts, right, about this 3-5-5 and the model where you get to play everybody. I mean, I think it's great because Syracuse gets more fun in the Dome, in my opinion, right? You get Miami in the Dome. Miami every 4 years is going to be in the Dome. So that's a good thing, right? That's a positive thing. And for me, it's beneficial to have yourself play everybody, right? You get a feel for everybody. So, and the schedules have already been released as far as what it looks like. So if you look at the 2023 to 2026 schedules for the ACC, I don't know why Syracuse didn't get Miami. They got Florida State, which makes sense. Your 2 Florida schools in the ACC. They got BC and they got Louisville. So kind of different there. The 2023 schedule for Syracuse, as an example, they will have Boston College, Clemson, Pitt, Wake Forest at home. On the road, they'll have Florida State, Georgia Tech, North Carolina, Virginia Tech. And then you have in 2023, Syracuse will have Duke, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Miami at home. 2024, get excited for that. And then on the road, they'll have Boston College, Louisville, NC State, and Pitt. And then Syracuse will have in 2025, Boston College, North Carolina, Pitt, Virginia Tech at home, Clemson, Florida State, Virginia, and Wake Forest on the road. And in 2026, we'll see them have Florida State, Louisville, NC State, Virginia, and then at home, and then Boston College, Duke, Miami, Pitt on the road. So Syracuse will not have to play Louisville every year. That's a good thing because Syracuse is not only not great against Louisville, they're atrocious against them on the road. they also will not have to worry about playing Wake Forest every year, who's gotten better, and NC State, who's gotten better. So, that's good for Syracuse, that they don't have to, worry about that, as this team is trying to grow and still find their footing inside of the ACC almost a decade into the conference. We continue with my ACC preview week. Syracuse up first, and Syracuse will move on to the players here in my coverage of the Syracuse Orange, and you'll hear what Matt Bergeron had to say about his versatility. He's played left tackle, he's played right tackle, he's played right away as a true freshman. Here's him talking about his versatility.
Dan Tortora, Wake Up Call, DT.com. He played left tackle and right tackle on this offensive line. Just what you could say about your versatility, and if there's a place where you have felt more comfortable, be it the blind side, or if you don't mind switching back and forth there.
So I've been lucky to be in a position where I could play as a freshman. I started as a right tackle my freshman year. Sophomore year, started as a right tackle, and in the middle of the season switched to left tackle, and I've played left tackle ever since. And I feel like I've been really comfortable at the left tackle spot, and I think that's the spot where I'm going to keep going as a player.
So left tackle, Matt Bergeron saying, hey, I've been on both sides. I've been right tackle, I've been left tackle, and this is where I'm going to be. I'm going to be at left tackle. So we see that and get excited about it, right? The depth chart and the opportunity. The depth chart has finally been put back onto Cuse.com. It was very difficult to find, and now it's back there. So left tackle Matt Bergeron doing his thing. Hasn't been updated for the fall camp yet, but hopefully it will very soon. But Matt Bergeron, the blind side tackle there for Syracuse, and we appreciate his time. We move on to the defensive side of the ball, and Mikel Jones. Mikel Jones, who's played linebacker for Syracuse for many a year here, and he's decided, last couple seasons, he's decided to come back for another year when he had the opportunity to go to the NFL, and him and I spoke on his leadership, him coming back, and the defense overall, what he thinks about the defense this season for Syracuse.
Michael, we've seen a lot of positive things that have happened on this defense last season going into this year. Your decision to be a part of the team here in 2022, just what you can say about your leadership and what you see from the rest of this unit that makes you believe that the defense will be even stronger this year.
I feel like I am growing as a leader, and growing as a leader, I feel like bringing other guys like Marlo Lax, Stephon Thompson, guys who play next to me, I feel like I help bring leaders like them too, and it's just helping the team and the defense overall.
So the defense overall for Mikel Jones, and coming back to Syracuse, giving Syracuse an opportunity here to blossom. Fantastic news for Syracuse that they got Mikel Jones back, right? And so obviously, going to work on his draft stock and things that he's got to get right, but it's great to see him back in orange for this season. Very important for Syracuse to have him back here. They've lost in certain areas, and it's tough. You see what Syracuse has lost, and they've lost Luke Benson and Aaron Hackett over the last couple seasons at tight end because they didn't really utilize them. They've lost multiple wide receivers to the transfer portal. And then you lose Aaron Service, who played left tackle, right tackle, center in games and also practiced at both guard positions. So he's been all over the place for them. And, this team has obviously lost some defensive backs over the last couple seasons. And, the offensive line this year, not having McKinley Williams, not having Josh Black, not having Kingsley Jonathan, all of those guys, Cody Roscoe, moving on, finishing up their time and trying to make it, and God willing will, as professional football players, and then Curtis Harper transferring to Akron. So there's a lot of changes there on the defensive line for the first time. It took a long time to build it, and now we'll see if they can keep it going with Caleb Okechukwu, as well as Terry Lockett and company, if they can get this thing right, because there's not a lot of faces there that have had a lot of experience on that defensive line. And like I said, it took a long time to build it. Now you got to keep it going. Mikel Jones, speaking of keeping it going, we spoke about Sean Tucker. Is he the best running back in college football? This is what Mikel Jones had to say.
Michael, I know that you may be partial to this answer that I'm about to ask you, but Sean Tucker, in your opinion, is there a better back going into 2022 in all of college football?
Nobody's answering to be my teammate. That's the best running back I played in all 4 years here, and playing in the ACC.
The best running back I played here in 4 years, and the best running back in the ACC. So he said at least that about Sean Tucker. Sean Tucker now the holder of this single season rushing record in Syracuse history. Nobody ran for more yards in a single season at Syracuse than Sean Tucker. That includes Jim Brown, Ernie Davis, Floyd Little, everybody, Larry Zonka, Joe Morris. It includes the entire gamut of running backs in Syracuse history. Nobody ran for more yards in a single season than Sean Tucker. So very, very cool, very excited. And Sean Tucker's clothing line has come out, and it's actually really awesome, in my opinion, and his yardage is really cool, too. There's a shirt that has the yardage on there, which I think is pretty awesome, and I'm interested to see how quickly those are going to sell out. So definitely looking forward. I'm sure I'll see some of those in the Dome this upcoming season. As we continue our ACC preview week on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, we move on to Garrett Schrader. I spoke with him about him working with Sean Tucker on the ground. Together last season, for the first time ever, Garrett Schrader and Sean Tucker had never worked together before. In working together last year, they combined to gain over 2,200 yards from scrimmage on the ground alone. Over 2,200 rushing yards between the two of them together. And so I spoke with Garrett Schrader about being a part of that tandem, as well as what Coach Beck is doing on the passing side of things for Garrett Schrader's arm. And this is what he had to say.
Tortora, WakeUpCallDT.com. Garrett, you and Sean Tucker combined on the ground for over 2,200 yards last season. Just what you can say it means to you to be in this offense as a part of that tandem. And then secondly, on the passing side of it, just what Coach Beck is doing to open up your game a little bit more so we can see what else you can do on the field.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the run game goes, we'll address that first. It starts up front, first and foremost. We got a great offensive line that are doing a lot of good things. We got a great running back, obviously, Sean Tucker. He can do a lot of things, very versatile. But a lot of things that most people don't see that kind of goes unnoticed is the coaching staff. And all how creative we're actually getting our run game, putting us in the best situations to have one-on-ones or be running on air basically most of the time. That's what, the credit to be given to, but, that definitely big for us. The positions that they put us in to be successful in the running games. And moving on to the new staff and offensive-wise, they're doing the same thing we've been doing last year, keeping that and then bringing what they brought to Virginia. And, it's not necessarily a concern of if we can get good up, because we know we're more than capable and competent. And we got a lot of receivers that didn't get a chance to show themselves. We got some names that will be big this year, put on a lot of good plays. Looking forward to it, and we're going to be explosive this year. We'll say that in both aspects.
So, this is the big question mark, right? And it's what a lot of people ask. And Coach Beck's been brought in, and obviously working with Brennan Armstrong last year, had a very, very strong passing performance there, right? And had a great time there in Virginia with a lot of success. So the question is what is this going to look like? Greg, I know you asked a question. We'll get to it in 1 second here. And also, folks, feel free to ask questions during the show on mixlr.com, facebook.com, or youtube.com. They're all /WakeUpCallDT. That's the live feed. So youtube.com /WakeUpCallDT, mixlr.com /WakeUpCallDT, and facebook.com /WakeUpCallDT. Go to any one of those and just throw your questions in, right? Your questions, your comments, your thoughts. Of course, as always, be respectful and justify your opinion if you have one out there, and just shoot it over to us. Be happy to answer what we can, and if we don't have the answer, we'll do our best to go out there and find it. Last season, Jason Beck for 500 passes, threw for 4,449 yards, 31 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. Now, obviously, Brennan Armstrong is not Garrett Schrader. Garrett Schrader is not Brennan Armstrong. But looking at the passing side of things, people are hoping that's going to improve. And you heard Garrett Schrader talk about both and say, here's running with Sean, here's the running a game, this is what we have to do. We're going to keep bringing that in. But there's going to be, hopefully more to be seen through the air. Greg asked, did you hear any particular reason why Sean Tucker was not in Charlotte? No, there was no kind of like, oh my gosh, why is he not here? And, do I think, listen, at the end of the day, the coaches get to choose, right? Last season for Florida State, Mike Norvell brought both of his quarterbacks. He brought Mackenzie Milton and he brought Jordan Travis. Now, he brought Jordan Travis this year again, too. And the question is, does Jordan Travis has the job outright? Does he? Does he not? So, why some coaches bring the same guys, right? Virginia last year brought Keaton Thompson, and then they brought Brennan Armstrong. This year they brought Keaton and Brennan again. So, as part of their group of three. So, is there a reason why Sean's not here? Maybe Mike Hell, maybe he wanted that representation. You try to have offense and defense. Very rarely do we see special teams, which is kind of sad. But it would be good to see one offense, one defense, one special team since there's three. But then, of course, people would complain, like, why is this quarterback and wide receiver not here, and yada, yada. So nothing in particular to state why Sean Tucker wasn't there. I do appreciate the question, but nothing crazy, nothing like, oh my gosh, he's not here because of X, Y, and Z. He's doing a lot with name, image, and likeness, so maybe it had something to do with that. I'm just speaking here. I don't know for sure, but yeah, there was nothing that was like, oh, he's not here because of something bad. So obviously we know that Sean Tucker is going to be out there on the field this year and getting after it. So, and I would imagine this is going to be the last year that he's going to be doing that for Syracuse. So I'm a little surprised that he came back. So, I think now it's kind of like, okay, well, got to kick it into high gear, and Syracuse is going to have to win some games with Sean here and, help him out, right? The more games they win, it helps out it helps him out in every award watch list that he's on, including the Heisman Trophy. So you win more, it helps more overall, right? It's hard to cover a team and take. It seems to be that certain places are not taken seriously when they don't win, even if they have talent. And Syracuse seems to be one of those places where they're not winning and they're not getting a lot of these awards. And you look at the one that they did get, and it was for special teams for Syracuse with Andre Schmidt getting the Lou Graza Award. So, definitely that was an amazing award. Can't believe he's the only kicker in Syracuse history to get it. Alindo Mare, hello. So, Nate Trout, there's a lot of really good kickers, Gary Anderson and whatnot. So, surprised there that the top kicker didn't go to Syracuse before. Seems a little strange. But yeah, I think that this is a season where Syracuse, for a lot of things, right? For Dino, for Sean Tucker, for all of this, you got to win games. And for the fans, right? It's been a tumultuous time here, and Dino's had 6 years, one winning season. And remember, that winning season was with a bunch of the guys playing well that came from Scott Schaefer and his staff. And I'm not trying to take away from Dino. It's just you inherit some really, really hard-nosed guys, as Scott Schaefer would say and his staff would say, and you got Eric Dungy, and you can't make an Eric Dungy just appear, right? He is Eric Dungy. He does what he does. I'll never forget Dino coming in his first year that he had Eric, and he said, oh, Eric's not going to be running that much. Like he's gonna get to know, so to speak. Like he's gonna, I'm gonna put him in his place and tell him this is what you're doing. And then the next year in the press conference, he was like, oh, well, like he runs and that's just what he does. And I was like, yeah, you changed your tune because you're not going to change who Eric Dungy is. He's an athlete. He's a baller, and he's going to put everything on the line. Shamarko Thomas, guys like that, that are just going to give it their all, and they're going to do it their way. They're going to take what you say as a coach, but they're also, you can't take the dog out of them. And, a lot of that success that season comes from Dungy, and it comes from Schaefer's guys. And outside of that, we've seen a lot of dismal seasons, right? We've seen 4-8, 4-8, 5-7, 5-7, 1-10. Those are all the seasons beyond the 10-3 year. So definitely a change needs to come here for Syracuse as we continue ACC Preview Week. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. We'll come back with Boston College in our ACC Preview Week all week long. previewing the ACC with you with all 14 schools, with my one-on-one conversations with their head coaches and student athletes, every single team represented and every single team interviewed here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Coming back with Boston College right after this inside of the Cafe Kubal studios where sports meets life.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, hanging out with you where sports meets that thing called life every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Cafe Kubal here with you on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, New York, as well as 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, in their giant behemoth of a brown stripe building, their double-decker cafe with an expanded parking lot now. And you can also find them on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in their drive-through location in North Syracuse. So make sure you head out there to Cafe Kubal today. Fill your cup up right. A little bit goes a long way, and a cup of local coffee goes a long way for the Central and Upstate New York community. So head out to Cafe Kubal today. Let them know that Wake Up Call sent you. And, of course, you can fill your cup up right anywhere by going to cafekubal.com. If you're outside of Central and Upstate New York and you'd like to try Cafe Kubal, you could definitely do that. We continue in our ACC preview week all week long here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. We just brought you Syracuse, and now we continue on from here with bringing you Boston College. Boston College joining the broadcast here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We appreciate them all. Very excited to have the opportunity to feature Boston College, one of the opponents that Syracuse will have permanently in the 3-5-5 model for 2023, 24, 25, and 26 seasons at least. Test things out. Again, what did I tell you? Everything's ending around 2025, 2026. Why have anything be any different? Why try out this schedule for 4 seasons and have it end in 2026? Because the college football playoff, currently as it stands, is going to end the contract at that time, and they got to figure something out. So just interesting how everything around 2025, 2026 is happening, including the testing of this model and whether or not they're going to keep it. That model comes into effect next season. Syracuse plays Boston College every year currently inside the Atlantic Division. They'll continue to play them as permanent opponents from now through 2026. And we start the conversation off with head coach Jeff Hafley and the 3-5-5 model itself.
How are you, Coach?
Great, how are you?
Doing well. Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. We know that this is the last season in the ACC of divisions, and we'll switch that 3-5-5 model. Having those permanent opponents, just what that means for you. And I know historically, going back to the old Big East, it makes a lot of sense what Boston College has now with Miami, Pitt, and Syracuse. So to speak to that last year divisions, and then looking forward to what the 3-5-5 is going to do for Boston College.
Well, first, I'm excited for this year. I think the Atlantic is going to be as good as it's been in a really long time. Very competitive, good, very well coached, good quarterbacks, so I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the division change. Get a chance to play some different teams. I mean, you get a chance to play Pittsburgh, we're all the way up here, right? And we're constantly playing teams not around us, but to play Pitt every year. We were playing them once every 6 years. Same thing with Syracuse. We're playing them because they're on our division. We should be playing Syracuse. And you get a chance to go to Miami. We have some kids like Zay from South Florida. I don't even know if Zay, you played at Miami in that stadium, right? So you get a chance to get down south a little bit and play a team that will be on the rise and compete down there. So I'm excited. And, I'm not really big on why we play that. Let's just go play football. So whatever they put on our schedule, let's play. And if we get to mix it up and play some different teams, even better, right? Let's bring Miami out a night game. Hopefully, late December when it's cold. Let's bring them to Boston and get our fans a chance to see some other schools. But I'm all for the change. I'm really excited about it. We got to play this year first.
Excited about the change, excited for it, excited to see his BC team get down to Miami. Mentioned Zay Flowers coming from the state of Florida, but focusing on this season, which I expected some coaches to say, right? I wanted to know what they thought about the new 3-5-5 model because it's the last season for divisions and this season, and then we go into that 3-5-5 model, so I definitely wanted to get their thoughts on it and fully understood that, some coaches would say what Jeff Hafley said is, I like that he obviously talked about it, got into it, and then also, said, hey, we got to play what's in front of us right now and go from there. Speaking of what's in front of them, they'll be playing with an offense under a new offensive coordinator. That is John McNulty. I asked Jeff Hafley about the hiring of McNulty and why he brought him in, and this is what he had to say.
Coach, having the new offensive coordinator, John McNulty, just what you can say about what he brings and what you saw in his vision for the offense that made sense for what you want to do at BC.
Yeah, John and I were together when I was with the Bucks. John was the quarterback coach, I was the DB coach. So I know what type of person he is, what type of man he is, and that's really important to me. I've also coached against him when I was at Pitt, and he was in the Big East at the same time. What was important for me is, what I know as a head coach is, I have a vision of what I want the offense to look like. And I feel like in my first 2 years, to be very honest with you, I focused too much on the defense. I think I failed as a head coach to make sure that my vision on what I want the offense to look like stays that way. And I interviewed a lot of guys, and John's vision and my vision, they really matched up. And without getting into too much detail on what it's going to look like, there'll be some similarities with what we did in the past. But then we got to find out what guys like this can do really well. And we got to get guys like Zay the ball. And we got to make sure that Phil is protected. We got to make sure Phil's doing what he does best. So I'm really excited about John being here and seeing where we can take the offense. And again, do I think we played well enough on offense last year? We don't, and that's my fault. And I need to do a better job as a head coach and making sure my vision stays intact throughout the year.
I love what he had to say here. He brought it up a couple times. We didn't do good enough on offense, and that's my fault. He blamed himself publicly. Says a lot about Jeff Hafley, and it shows a lot to his players about personal responsibility. When you're the head coach, to walk up to a podium and say, hey, this is my fault. You don't always see that. And I know that because you don't always hear it, right? I mean, for all the years that I've been doing this, almost 19 years, and for all the people that we've had on the show, over 3,000, very rarely do I hear somebody say, like, hey, this was my fault, and not even be provoked to say it. I'm asking him about John McNulty, bringing him on as an OC. They worked together with the Bucks, so the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, pretty cool. And I'll talk to you in a second about Jeff Hafley because he's got a pretty interesting road, which I think is really awesome. But looking at the fact that he took that personal responsibility, I didn't provoke him to take it. I didn't ask him to take it, and he took it publicly and said the offense has to be better, and that's on me. And then he said it again. And I'll talk with his team in just a little bit here, share that with you, about what they think about having a coach like that. But looking at the coaching career for Jeff Hafley, this is pretty cool here. So he was at Worcester Polytechnic, Cester. It's Worcester. I learned that from one of my buddies dated a girl from Worcester. So Worcester Polytech, running backs coach, 2001. Then he was in Albany. From 2002 to 2003, he was a defensive assistant. 2004 and 5, he was a defensive backs coach for UAlbany. Then he went on to Pitt, 2006 and 7. He was a defensive assistant, and then he was defensive backs coach from 2008 to 10. So same thing he did at Albany, he did at Pitt. Came in as a defensive assistant, and then became the defensive backs coach. Then in 2011, he went to Rutgers, was a defensive backs coach. Then he went down to Florida, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and was their secondary and safeties coach, 2012-13. Then he was the D-backs coach with the Cleveland Browns, 14-15. And then 2016-18, he was the D-backs coach for the San Francisco 49ers. And then in 2019, he was the co-defensive coordinator and secondary coach for Ohio State before coming to Boston College in 2020. So really cool here. I mean, obviously a lot of work with defensive backs and the secondary in general, and some good work in the NFL with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Cleveland Browns, and the San Francisco 49ers from a span of 2012 to 2018. So really, really awesome there. And then obviously going to the reputable Ohio State and being their co-defensive coordinator on top of being their secondary coach. So pretty nice credentials there for Jeff Hafley. We'll see what he can do as he steps forward here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Good morning, Mama and Pop and everybody out there. Good stuff happening here, and thankful and very blessed thanks be to God for the opportunity to do what I love and love what I do. We continue the Boston College coverage in our ACC preview week as I get a trio of questions into Jeff Hafley. Here's the third one, and he's had some fun with the fact that I kept going back and wanting to ask him more questions. Because, I mean, normally if this was a normal interview, as for those of you that know the show, we talk for a while, right? We talk for 20, 30 minutes, give them some time. Some people stay on for an hour. So we have a lot of back and forth. In this situation, you ask one question, and then I try to be respectful, send it around the room, and then I'll raise my hand, and if there's time for more questions, then, thankfully they'll come back to me. And a big shout out to everybody that makes it possible in the ACC, and to Trip Durham for being a great host of this TV room. So I had another question for Jeff Hafley. We had some fun with it.
Dan, we got all the questions today.
Well, Coach, I care about what you did at Boston College, obviously. So when you look back on that a couple of years ago, what brought you there? Hindsight 2020, what was it about this job, this opportunity, this school that made you feel like that was the right fit for you to be a leader at this time?
That is a good question. I just left, I left the 49ers, I went to Ohio State, and I thought I'd be there for a while. We had a really good year, played good defense, and then I had a couple of opportunities. One was location. I wanted my family to live in a great place. Boston's a great place. My family is very important to me, great school systems. Academics. I spent a lot of time in the NFL. A lot of guys don't make it, and a lot of guys, 2 or 3 years, they're not in the NFL, and they don't have a good degree, they never had internships, and they never had jobs. I want to change lives. Whether or not these guys wind up playing in the NFL with the degrees they get, the internships we give them, I'm going to change their life because they're going to have a great job. I wanted to go somewhere where I didn't have to cheat, I didn't have to cut corners, I didn't have to sleep by my phone and get phone calls in the middle of the night. I want to be around good people. I And when I researched BC, I knew about BC, I grew up in New Jersey. And I felt like we could be better, we could recruit better, we could play better. That's no disrespect to anybody who's coached before because they did a good job. I came because I thought we could elevate it, doing it the right way with really good people. You win with good people, and that was so important to me to do things the right way. And then meeting Father Leahy, guys like Father Jack, at the time AD, it was a perfect fit for me and my family. And I had the opportunity, after both years, people called. And people ask me all the time, I mean, I've only been here for 2 years, I already get questions. You're not gonna, what do you mean I'm not gonna stay? We got great kids, we got an unbelievable school, we got unbelievable leadership, our staff has been awesome, we recruited well. It is an awesome place, and we're going to win, but we're gonna do it the right way. So hopefully that answers your question. I probably ranted a little bit on that one. Thanks for asking the 3 questions too.
I like this, right? Coach Hafley saying that he wanted to go to a place where he didn't have to sit, be by his phone and get calls in the middle of the night, where he didn't have to cut corners, right? He alluded to the fact that there's places that maybe don't do things right? Maybe they cut corners, and he said, I didn't want to have to go to a place where we had to cheat. He wanted to work with good people. I find that, and I feel like Jeff Hafley has from the moment he stepped up to the podium, and when we got to see him last year, because in 2020 we didn't get to see any of this because we were home due to the pandemic. I think that Jeff is a breath of fresh air, not just for the ACC, but for collegiate athletics, right? Somebody who, and I hope he always stays this way. I hope he is honest always, and I hope that he's okay with sharing that honesty, because I appreciate both of those things. Being honest and sharing your honesty, right? Being an honest person and then not being afraid to share it. He blamed himself. Like I said, he came up, said, I need to make the offense better. That's on me. Then he comes up here and says, I wanted to go somewhere I didn't have to cheat. I didn't want to cheat. I didn't want to cheat. I didn't want to be by my phone late at night wondering what's going to happen. He wanted to be in an environment where he could be a head coach. He wanted to be in an environment that was going to be good and positive. He wanted to be in an environment where he could grow and not cut corners and do things the right way. He's saying a lot about Boston College when he's saying, hey, I came here to not cheat. I came here to not have to sit by my phone in the middle of the night. I came here to work with good people. And that he had said that, he's been in the Northeast. He's been in New Jersey. He obviously worked at Rutgers. So a lot of positive words there for Boston College coming from your head coach that's only been your head coach for a couple seasons now as he steps into his 3rd season there. And stepping forward here, I have Josh DeBerry with us here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. And I'm very happy to be able to share this time with you in the opportunity that we have to continue the conversation with Boston College. And to do that here, to get into Josh DeBerry and what he had to say, a defensive back. So you talk about Jeff Hafley, the head coach, doing a lot of work with defensive backs. Well, he brought one of his defensive backs with him in Josh DeBerry out of Grosse Pointe Park in Michigan. I had the opportunity to ask Josh about Jeff Hafley taking that responsibility publicly, and this is what he had to say.
Josh, just what you can say about what it is at Boston College. Like you said, past defensive team has been very successful, but you hear Coach talk about putting it on himself. When you have a leader like that takes the responsibility, what does that mean to you as a player, and how does that kind of define what the Eagles are?
I feel like Coach Hafley defines what they are. It's like what you see is what you get. I mean, he's a great leader on and off the field. He helps us be better, and that just helps guys buy in. You got guys like Phil and Zay willing to come back from another year, even though they really don't have to. And that's just what type of team we have. That's what type of head coach we have, and that's just Coach Hafley. And we're just bought in, and I'm bought into him. I'm bought into everything he has to offer. So yeah, that just shows how great of a coach and leader he is.
So Josh DeBerry saying a lot of positive words here. I'm bought in. I'm here. Everything that he wants to do, I'm with it. Right? That says a lot too. See, people need to pay attention to Boston College because I picked them a little bit higher than the overall media picked them to finish. I had Clemson first in the ACC in my predicted order of finish. I had Clemson in the Atlantic. Clemson, NC State, Wake Forest, which I think either one of those teams can vie for it. But Clemson, NC State, Wake Forest. So that's your 4. Then I had your 3. Then I had Florida State. Then I had BC at 5. Then I had Louisville. Then I had Syracuse. So I don't think Boston College is going to be that bad. And 5 could be 7-5, right? 5th place could be 6-6. Could be 8-4, because I think Clemson, obviously Clemson is Clemson, and I feel like, 10-3 was a bad year. I think it's hilarious. So Clemson and what they typically do, and then Wake Forest and NC State getting better. Wake Forest and NC State, they could win a bunch of games here, right? Could be 9-10 win teams potentially. And then you move on from there. And I mean, we could take a look at that schedule for sure. And I can, be more than happy to throw this at you and what my thoughts are here. But if we take a look really quick here as we continue the conversation on Boston College, but I do want to, just for argument's sake, take a look at NC State, who I have second here, and rope it back to BC and how I think BC, even if they finish 5th in the Atlantic Coast Conference Atlantic Division side, that doesn't mean that they're going to have a bad season. I look at NC State and it's like, okay, they got East Carolina, who's gotten better. They can play that game on the road. They have Charleston Southern. They have Texas Tech. They have UConn. So they could go through this thing and be 4-0, 2-2, 3-1 in this world. I could see them being 3-1 here. And then you're at Clemson. That's going to be a big game. They played them close for a couple of years, beat them last season. So that'll be a good game to see here. Then you have Florida State. You have at Syracuse. And then Louisville and North Carolina are on the road, which you have Boston College, Wake, Virginia Tech. So, yeah, I mean, I could see if they go 3-1 there, and then let's say 3-2, and then let's say 4-2. Let's say 4-2, 5-2, 5-3. Yeah, so I can see NC State. Well, I could see NC State getting around. It depends. I feel like I could safely say like 7-8 wins. But it depends. I mean, what type of team are they going to be at the end of the season when they play at Louisville and at North Carolina? Those are going to be some interesting games to take in. Wake Forest side of things, I'm going to take a look at Wake Forest here and their schedule. So Wake Forest, so you got VMI at Vanderbilt. So let's say that this is 2-0. Let's say this is, so let's say 3-1 to start for them. So let's say, I would say 4-2 or 5-1. So let's say 4-2, 5-2. Yeah, I mean, I think Wake, they also have to play at Louisville. They play North Carolina at home, but I could say 6. Yeah, I could see Wake around that 8 as well. So it could be tight here. They do have to play Boston College as well because they're in the Atlantic Division. So if we look at BC and BC's potential record here, so they're playing Rutgers, who's gotten better with Schiano back. They're playing at Virginia Tech. So let me say that's 1-1, 2-1, 2-2, 2-3, 2-4, 3-4. 3-5, 4-5. Yeah. So BC could actually, they could get to 7-5, but it's going to be a really hard road. I'd see maybe 6-6. So yeah, so 5th place, 6-6. So I had Wake and NC State. I think they comfortably, Wake and NC State can get to 7 or 8 wins. I think some of these ones can go, in my opinion, some of these are going to be tougher in my estimation here. So I had them a little bit higher, and my apologies there. I should have looked at this before I went speaking here, and just like Jeff Halfley can say I apologize because in educating myself a little bit more, I think it's safer to say that Wake and NC State can get to 7 or 8 wins, and I think BC at 6-6. So makes sense with BC being 5th there because I have Syracuse being potentially 5-7 and being behind them. So we continue the conversation with Boston College here in our ACC preview week. And our final conversation with Boston College in ACC preview week comes with Zay Flowers, their wide receiver, who decided to come back. And I asked him exactly that, why he came back.
Zay, you made that decision to come back, and like you heard your coach say, you didn't have to do it. You just heard one of your teammates say that. Why come back to Boston College, and what is it about 2022 that you wanted to once again line up with the same guys?
I mean, there's a couple of things. Me and Phil, I felt like we finished what we started, and I wanted to get my degree. My dad wanted me to get my degree, and I felt like that was a big part. And I just felt like I owed it to the program to come back and try to give the program something that we didn't have in a long time.
So he wanted to finish what they started and to give the program something they haven't had in a long time. So we look at the football record last season, right? So this year you got a clean slate in 2022. Back in 2021, we take a look at it, and the team ended 6-6. So he said, we got to finish what we started. They started last season defeating Colgate 51-0. Then they defeated Massachusetts in-state 45-28. Then they defeated Temple, not too far away, 28-3. Then they defeated Missouri of the SEC at home, and that game was 41-34 in overtime. So they started 4-0, and then they only won 2 games in the last 8 that they had. So started 4-0, and then only won 2 of their final 8 games of the season. Those were back-to-back against Virginia Tech and at Georgia Tech. So they lost mightily to Wake Forest by 31 points. They lost to Florida State at home only by 3. They lost a low-scoring game to Virginia Tech. They defeated Virginia Tech 17-3. They lost a game to Syracuse on the road 21-6, and they'll have Syracuse at home this year. And then they lost to Louisville 28-14 on the road, and lost to NC State 33-7, as well as losing a very close game to Clemson on the road in Death Valley, 19-13, and they have Clemson at home this year. So be interesting to see what happens for BC football and how they compete against the darlings of the nation, not just the ACC, in Clemson. And they have Clemson, they had them within the first 5 weeks last year. Now they have them as their 6th game on October 8th. And that game is going to be at home, the red bandana game and homecoming game in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts. So, I think 6-6 is something that we could say again for Boston College. Zay says they have unfinished business. We'll see if they can finish it up as they step forward. And as we move on here in ACC kickoff week, we want to thank the Boston College Eagles for being a part of the broadcast here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. A lot more to come up on ACC kickoff week as we will jump into the Florida State Seminoles conversation right after this fast break inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here as always and kicking off the ACC preview week with us here on Wake Up Call. First day of August, first opportunity here for ACC kickoff week. So I love when months line up where we get to start off the month on the 1st on Wake Up Call. Always cool stuff happening. I believe in God incidences. This is one of them, and we get to carry it through here. So excited to come back after this fast break to bring you plenty more from the ACC, including my one-on-one conversations with head coach Mike Norvell and the student-athletes of Florida State. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicoli's.com. That's myaviccollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout central and upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? To be cared for, to be listened to, and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skaneateles, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skaneateles Lake. Whatever your injury may be from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. Cafe Kubal on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, New York, inside of their giant behemoth of a brown stripe building in Manlius on 343 Fayette Street. Can't miss it. Expanded parking lot there in Manlius, New York. And, of course, on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road, right by the airport at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse for their drive-through location. Head out and support local today. It tastes better, so make sure you go out and do that. And thanks to Cafe Kubal for all that they do to bring their coffees, their teas, of course, my favorite, chais, to us in our beautiful central and upstate New York community. With that being said, we continue our conversation here in ACC Preview Week, all week long to start off August. Here we are in ACC Kickoff Week, Preview Week. Excited to be able to do this with you and to share this with you. And so Florida State is up next here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in our Preview Week. And we'll start things off with my conversation with Mike Norvell, the head coach. Mike Norvell and I spent time together in his 4 seasons at Memphis and have spent time ever since in his time at Florida State. He steps into year number 3. Kind of interesting because 2020 was a weird year for a lot of places, weird year for everybody, and Florida State didn't play a full schedule that year. So this is like year 2. I want to say this is like 2.5, but his 3rd season at Florida State as he steps into it. And Mike Norvell and I had the opportunity to speak on the 3-5-5 model, which will see Florida State play Syracuse every single year. This is what he had to say about the 3-5-5.
Coach Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com. We know that after this season, divisions are gone and we're going to a 3-5-5 model. Just what you can say about the discussions of that, and if you were for working toward a model that's going to be maybe more advantageous for the future of the college football playoff.
First off, I want to thank the ACC, Michael Strickland, Commissioner Phillips. I mean, just the involvement, the communication with the coaches, the involvement of all trying to find these testimonies, trying to be able to put together a structure and a system that allows it a great experience for our student athletes and what they're going to be able to accomplish through the 3-5-5 model is something that I truly think is special. To be able to go and play in every venue throughout that 4-year period of time is unique, and it makes sure it ensures them the complete collegiate experience here in the ACC, and then being able to pair up the best 2 teams within each season to be able to play the championship game. I do think is a special opportunity, and so I do appreciate the ACC. I appreciate all the things that went into that. And just the collaborative approach that they took to be able to find the best model for the ACC moving forward.
So Mike Norvell giving appreciation and thanking the ACC for what they've done, and the fact of trying to get these top 2 teams to see exactly who is going to be crowned the champion of the ACC, right? You're going to take your top 2 teams and have them duke it out against each other, as opposed to having the top team from the Coastal, the top team from the Atlantic. Now, they'll do the way to take the top 2 teams, whoever it is. Maybe it's 2 former Coastal, maybe it's 2 Atlantic, maybe it's 1-1, but we'll see where we go from here as far as who's going to get there. But now you want to take your top teams, and they did this in 2020 when Mike Norvell came into the ACC. They did this when they brought Notre Dame in for a season, and Clemson and Notre Dame ended up getting there to the top, and then Clemson ended up embarrassing Notre Dame when they were back to full strength, right? When they had Trevor Lawrence and everybody there, because when they went to South Bend, it took double overtime with Notre Dame to beat DJ Uiagalelei, who is only in his 2nd season as a college football quarterback, and in his 2nd season in South Bend, Notre Dame at home, double overtime it took to beat a Clemson team led by DJ. And then when they played Trevor Lawrence and Clemson blew them out in the ACC championship game. Something that the College Football Playoff Committee, I think, forgot when they were deciding the 4 teams that got in, but I digress. So Florida State, continuing on here, I spoke with Mike Norvell, the head coach, about name, image, and likeness. This is what he had to say about NIL now that we're a year into it, what his thoughts are.
Mike, to take a look at name, image, and likeness, we're a season through it, but obviously there's not a lot of regulation and no central kind of ruling body on how to handle it. So what can you say the message has been to the student athletes at Florida State, and how are you handling it?
I'm excited for the NIL opportunities for all student athletes, for them to be able to have those experiences, to be able to benefit on the work that they put in and the name and the brand that they've built throughout their high school and college careers. And it is special for them, and ultimately, those opportunities, are unique to each individual. They're being able to do something that nobody before them has, and being able to benefit upon that. Our thing is we want to make sure that we help educate as much as possible, be able to provide those resources and platforms for our student athletes to be able to dig into and to make sure that they make the most well-educated decisions on their future, on how they're building sport that we have. I mean, and we're excited about the opportunity for the student athletes, but I'm excited for where the future of college football is going, and where, what that path is going to look like as we continue to work down through, all the new additions within college athletics.
So Mike Norvell's excited about it, right? You've heard a lot of coaches say this, right? That they're for it. And I'm not singling out Mike Norvell by any stretch of the imagination. I wonder if a coach can really say that they're not for it, right? If you want to keep your student athletes, and your student athletes are making money for the first time ever with their name, image, and likeness. So I don't know if you could really come out there. I mean, you could, but should somebody come out and be like, yeah, I'm not for it, I don't really like it. What would the thought be from that with the student athletes? So, but Mike Norvell, I mean, you kind of understand at Florida State, you're going to have. Florida State has had some issues that they've had to work through. I think Willie Taggart inherited them and was unfortunately potentially maybe blamed for some of them. But I think when you're recruiting and you're trying to be successful and you're trying to do good things, you want to do things the right way. I like Mike Norvell. I like what he did at Memphis, and I hope that, he brings the right way approach to Florida State as they step forward and good things come of this. The guy that I'm about to bring you here in a second, Fabian Lovett, is that Fabian Lovett, the defensive lineman, D tackle who came to Florida State, he transferred from Mississippi State. Now, this tweet was deleted by Mike Leach, the head coach of Mississippi State, but he had put, quote, after 2 weeks of quarantine with her husband, Gertrude decided to knit him a scarf, end quote, and it was a meme of a woman knitting her husband a noose with that caption. Now, he apologized for the tweet, but Lovett, with his father's blessing, entered the transfer portal. Now, what was said here, Lovett said, he said, quote, me and my dad didn't feel right about what was tweeted out. We didn't feel comfortable playing under somebody that would do that. So, you ask, does it matter what you put out there on social media? It does, because it can have these effects. Now, he was asked if he spoke with Leach and if anyone tried to get him to stay at Mississippi State. Lovett said when he was speaking to Knowles 247, he said, quote, the only person that I talked to was our defensive line coach. Nobody else contacted me. He was the only person to contact me from Mississippi State, end quote. So he claims, he didn't hear from Mike Leach, none of that, and he just decided to leave. So kind of sad that, what Mike Leach put out made Fabian feel such a way. I don't feel like there's ever a good time to put a noose out there. I really don't. I don't ever in my brain think like, hey, why don't I tweet that? You know what I mean? So, it doesn't signify anything good hanging anybody. it was torturous and it was gross, and you hear about history and somebody would get hung and then just left in the town square. So, I don't even like watching Pirates of the Caribbean, and it's a movie of the little kid when he gets hung and with everybody else and he's singing, this pirate chant, and then you obviously hear you hear the noise and you hear the thing, and then that's the movie starts off with them being hung. It's very dark. It's also Disney. Disney, the place that can't show you blood in a Marvel movie, but can talk about orgies and hang people and hang children. So crazy, but in a movie. But yeah, I don't see any reason why Fabian. I would feel uncomfortable seeing that. Okay, you could have used a different. I understand that maybe the joke was oh, okay, I'm going to hang my husband if I have to spend 5 more minutes with him at home. But it's, I don't know, joking about stuff like that. It's just not. I would never put that out there and go, I feel good about this. So, you can understand Fabian leaving, but it's sad that no other coach reached out to him, including Mike Leach, who tweeted it, to, speak with him about it and try and figure things out. So he comes from Vicksburg, Mississippi, so he was staying in state. Now he's in Florida at Florida State in Tallahassee, and Fabian Lovett and I had the first time to speak with one another, the defensive tackle who's now transferred in via the portal to Florida State, and I spoke with Fabian about working. I just spoke with him about, Jermaine Johnson II, his takeaways from him and leadership moving forward.
Fabian, Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. Just what you can say about Jermaine Johnson II, what you learned from him and being on that defensive line.
I've learned a lot from Jermaine. He's one of the guys that let me click and not break that game, understand like the importance of my growth and the dominance that I can have and I will have. And he showed me like what it's like to have spot on the outside of the NFL. So when you get those teams, the guy that makes the play that you can make also. And as far as me being a leader, I've grown tremendously with the help of Coach Raphael, Coach Odell, and just being around the guys and building better relationships with them. It's all about being able to be respected and being able to show seriously what you want from us.
So he talks about it there, right? He says it's all about being respected. And he brings up Mike Norvell. He said he learned a lot from Jermaine Johnson II. Now, I said he transferred, obviously, a couple of years ago he transferred. That's why he got to work with Jermaine Johnson II, who was with the team last season before joining the Jets via the draft this season, and the Jets picking him up in the first round when they traded back into it. And he was one of the picks that I called. When they came back in, I was like, oh, Jermaine Johnson II still on the board. I called all of the Jets picks in the first round and continue. I think, like, as we continued on, I think the Jets had the best draft. I think the Jets' best players are arguably their players that they drafted last year and this year that are, the youth of the team. So we'll see as it steps forward. But Jermaine Johnson II coming from that defensive line as an end, working with Fabian Lovett and getting his thoughts on it and him talking about, which I loved, and that is that he spoke on Jermaine Johnson II, helping him to build confidence and have confidence in himself and in his game, which I think is great. Jamie Robinson is next up here in our coverage of Florida State in ACC Preview Week, the defensive back from Cordell, Georgia, and I had the opportunity to speak on Florida State swagger as he had a very nice suit game going on. This is what he had to say.
Jamie, Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. To go off of that, describe not only yours, but overall, how would you define Florida State swagger?
I mean, I grew up watching Florida State, but that wasn't my first home. Florida State my second home, but just the atmosphere, just Florida State. When Florida State win, everybody loves Florida State. So it's just our main focus is just to get us back on that wave, just to get us winning and getting Florida State back to where it's supposed to be. That's our main thing, just getting us back to where it's supposed to be.
Get Florida State back to where it's supposed to be. Now, Florida State has obviously struggled over these last few seasons here. It's been some trying times, and Jimbo Fisher's last season was definitely a trying season for Florida State, in which I believe that he said to the fans, like, you could feel how you want to feel and, do what you want to do, but please don't boo my players. And I'm paraphrasing here, but I believe he said something along the lines of don't boo my players because they were booing them at home. So we look at Florida State now and, where things are at. Over these last few seasons, it has been a tumultuous time for the Florida State Seminoles, right? And you look at that season where they went 6-7 back in 2019-20, and I mean, you just look at these records that they had 5-7 the year before that. So 5-7, which I believe that was the year here that Jimbo had moved on. So Jimbo Fisher with Florida State and just what he had there. I mean, when he was a coach at Florida State, we know that Jimbo had an 83-23 record at Florida State, right? Very good record at Florida State. Also won the last BCS national championship. So his last season there was back in 2017 was his last season there. So 2017, his final. So pardon me, that was the 2018-19 season I'm talking about. So 2017 was his last season there, and to see what the team did at that time period, and they were 5-6 here in 2017, 10-3 before that. Yep, so 13-1. They won the championship back in 2013. So with Jimbo Fisher as Bobby Bowden for a while, 2010, Florida State went 10-4, won the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. 2011, they went 9-4, won the Champs Sports Bowl. 2012, they went 12-2, won the Orange Bowl. 2013 is when they won the BCS National Championship, which was the last one. They went 14-0 that year, and people forget that, right? And that because that was almost a decade ago, and people seem to forget things pretty quickly. 13-1, they were after they won the national championship. They went 13-1. The only game they lost was the Rose Bowl, and then 10-3, lost in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, and then 10-3 in 2016, won in the Orange Bowl. So he went to a bowl game every single one of those years, and in winning a national championship, overall 5-2 in those postseason games before going 5-6 and then heading out of Dodge, right? So when you see that, 5-6 season, and we look to where we are right now, I mean, this team has had a tough road to hoe. And in 2018-19, I mean, we look at that 5-7 record, then 6-7 in 2019-20, and then 3-6 in 20. And that was the year that Mike Norvell came in, and they didn't play a lot of games, and then 5-7 last year. So it's atypical for Florida State, especially, in the history of the last decade, to have a 5-7 campaign, right? This is not something that people are used to by any stretch of the imagination. And yet here we are taking a look at this and seeing, the fact that this is where, they've been living. And it's really unfortunate. 5-6 is what the team was when Jimbo Fisher was there at Florida State in 2017. That was the confusion, because they ended the season going 7-6 because they were able to add Louisiana Monroe after. See, normally their last game of the regular season is their rivalry game against Florida, but they had to find another game, so they added Louisiana Monroe, and that got them to be bowl eligible at 6-6, and then they played Southern Miss, defeated them in the Independence Bowl to go 42-13. So he didn't coach those last two games. That's why we're seeing that. So, 5-6. So they won two games that year without him, and then 2008. So since he left in full seasons, they've been 5-7, 6-7, 3-6, and 5-7. That's where Florida State has been since we have not seen Jimbo Fisher in Tallahassee. So Mike Norvell trying to change that situation. The 3-6 season, a little bit strange. 5-7 last year, he did make the improvement, almost bowl eligible, and now they have an opportunity to step forward, which I believe they will. I believe in Mike Norvell, and I've been a fan of Mike Norvell for a while, like I said, covering him in Memphis and continuing to cover him once he went over to Florida State. So 4 years in Memphis and his now third season at Florida State right now. I call it year 2.5, but, third season as far as being the head coach and looking at, going into the season. He was there in 2020, albeit a strange year, 2021, and now here we are at 2022. Jordan Travis, who came to the 2021 ACC kickoff with Mackenzie Milton, was back this year by himself, and I spoke with Jordan Travis about Mackenzie Milton, his relationship with him, what he took away from last year, and now having the team as his own without Mackenzie in that quarterback duo. Now that Mackenzie has moved forward, what he thinks about having the team as his own, and this is what he had to say.
Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. You spoke about the guys you keep in touch with, being with Mackenzie Milton last year, and you guys both having to, lead this offense. Just what you could say you took away from having to share that space, and what it's like now to move forward yourself.
Mackenzie's my guy. It's like one of my best friends. I used to watch him and look up to him when I was in high school when he was at UCF. Mackenzie taught me a lot. I mean, obviously he's had a rough journey, but it made him who he is today. I learned a lot. I mean, the way he led, as soon as he got into the room, he's a really respectful guy. Never stepped on anybody's toes. He's just a really special person. Moving forward now, I just bring all that stuff together and try to just keep picking his mind. I was on the phone with him last night. Just trying to grow every day.
Jordan Travis talking about it with me here, and overall, he spoke about the fact that he does keep in touch with guys and continues to reach out to them, daily at times. And he said that he had just talked to Mackenzie Milton. He continues, now that the team is his own, he's still picking Mackenzie Milton's brain. So you see that positive connection they had when they were playing together that has spilled over into Jordan Travis continuing to go to him and say to him, you know, what about this or what about that? And to pick his mind and to see what Mackenzie had to say. So pretty cool here to see something like that. And it shows who Mackenzie is and it shows who Jordan is, to be the guys that were fighting for the same job that have a good relationship, according to Travis, moving forward, to the point where not only is it like, oh, okay, well, yeah, we had to have a good, it wasn't one of those we had to have a good relationship because we had to deal with each other and now he's gone and who cares? It was, yeah, we had a good relationship and now I still call him and I ask him for his help, which shows that relationship, albeit that they were competing against each other, still they were a team. And that's something that I love seeing. So that being Florida State here in our ACC preview week, as we'll be previewing the ACC with all 14 schools in my conversations with every single one of the head coaches from all 14 institutions in the ACC for football, as well as student athletes from every single school. That's all coming up here this week on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora to usher in the 2022-23 college football season. We will wrap up today's broadcast with NC State right after this fast break, where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jim Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also, I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career, it's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, we're here on YouTube.com, Facebook.com, and MixLR.com, all /WakeUpCallDT, on Facebook.com /LiveNowDT, and on the homepage of WakeUpCallDT.com. It is ACC Preview Week, and we inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin' have brought you Syracuse, as well as Boston College and Florida State. We will now round out today's show in ACC Preview Week with NC State. ACC Preview Week on Wake Up Call featuring every one of the 14 member institutions of the ACC for football, speaking with their head coaches and student athletes from every single school, so everyone within the ACC is represented in one-on-one conversations that I had with them for the upcoming ACC season, all inside of these Cafe Kubal studios. So the final piece of today's broadcast to jump things off as we start off Wake Up Call in August, on August 1st, and get to kick off the upcoming season for the ACC here on the 1st, which I think is cool. I love to start things off with the first day of the month being the first show that we have of this month. Always great when those things get to link up and to do this ACC Preview Week now with NC State in my conversation with Dave Doran with his thoughts on the 3-5-5, because NC State will be playing the Carolinas, the teams they will play every single year. No matter what, in that 3-5-5, they're permanent opponents from 2023 through 2026 as they test out this new model in the ACC without divisions. We will see NC State play Clemson, Duke, and North Carolina. Think about this. Clemson and NC State play every single year against each other because they're in the Atlantic Division. Once we move to the 3-5-5, they will stay permanent opponents. They will play each other every single season from 2023 through 2026 at least. And if they end up being the top two teams in the ACC, they would get a second crack at each other. Wouldn't that be great with NC State playing Clemson so close the last few seasons to barely lose 2 games in a row and then to defeat them last season? If we got to see them twice, how cool that would be to see NC State and Clemson face off against each other, have a tight, close game during the regular season, and then have to play each other for the ACC championship. I think it's going to be hard for Clemson to play NC State twice if NC State continues to move forward as they have with Dave Doran. And just to note here, for those of you that don't know this, Dave Doran, after being at Northern Illinois, where he went 11-3 and 12-1 in 2011 and 2022, or 2011 and 2012. Since then, he's been at NC State as the head coach from 2013. He went 3-9, flipped that, which, you come in your first season. That, to me, is expected. I shouldn't say it's expected, but I'm not surprised when a team's in a situation like that, right? When you come in as a head coach, typically coming as a head coach to a new team, you're going to have that adversity, right? Because there's a reason why that head coach, well, it depends. If a head coach is fired, that team might not be in the greatest footing. If the head coach is fired because of something off the field and whatever's going on and this, that, and the third, the team may be good, the coach wasn't good. But in a lot of these situations, you see the team has struggled, they get rid of their head coach, you bring in a coach, he's not going to flip it in a day. But look at what Dave Doran did with NC State. Comes in 2013, he goes 3-9. The next season, his second season after taking over the job, 2014, he goes 8-5 and goes to a bowl game, wins that bowl game in the St. Petersburg Bowl. Then he goes 7-6, goes to a bowl game, loses in the Belk Bowl. 7-6, wins the Independence Bowl. 9-4, wins the Sun Bowl. 9-4, loses the Gator Bowl. 4-8, then 8-4, loses the Gator Bowl. Then 9-3 last season. They were supposed to play a bowl game, and it got canceled last minute there on the day of, which was really sad to see. So we look at what he's done at NC State. He's only had 2 losing seasons. His first season, and then he had a losing season in 2019. That's it. Besides those 2 moments, he's had a winning record at NC State each of the seasons, and he has won 3 bowl games, lost 3 bowl games, and was supposed to play another bowl game, which never happened last year due to COVID. His record overall at NC State is 64-49. I wanted to preface with all that because I feel like some people don't understand the fact that he's not only a good coach, a winning coach, a coach that goes to bowl games, but he also knows how to recruit guys from high school and prep school that are not only good for NC State, but that are NFL caliber guys. You have to have a certain type of vision to be able to see in a high school player, a high school student athlete, something that's going to make your team better, but that you think can also translate to the highest level into the NFL. And he has helped NC State be a bridge to the NFL for years, and I commend him for that. I'm a big fan of Dave Doeren, and this is what he had to say about the 3-5-5 model that will see his NC State team play the Carolinas for years to come, as they will have Clemson, Duke, and North Carolina as permanent opponents.
Coaching those top 2 teams in the conference to really be the ones that did vie for that championship.
Yeah, well, I'm sad about that. I mean, I was one of probably many coaches in our side of the division. You know, as a player, I just use Isaiah as an example. You know, he's a Virginia native, and we're going to play the schools from Virginia twice every 12 years, so he'll get to play them one time, maybe, in his career, you know, and for us, we did 1 every 6 years, you know, and I just don't like that cycle of playing with other teams in your league, particularly teams that are close, that you recruit against, where players are going to be on your team, and like to go play back against those other teams, you know, so on top of that, I think the best 2 teams should play each other for the championship game, you know, I think that's how it ought to end up, but it ought to be settled on the grass, even if it's a rematch, it ought to be settled on the grass, you know. So I like the dynamics of that. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to get to play the other teams more often. I just think that's good for television, it's good for the fans, it's really good for the players.
So Dave Doeren, he not only said he was a proponent of it, he said a lot on our side, right? Because the Atlantic Division's the stronger side right now. The Coastal Division can get by with their top team being 7-5, where on the Atlantic side, if Clemson's going to go undefeated or almost undefeated, right, 12-0, 11-1, then your next team might be 9 wins. And, I mean, look at what NC State had last year, right? They were 9-3. 9-3. To see what they've done, right? They've had 9-win seasons in 2017, 9-win season in 2018, 8-win season in 2020, 9-win season in 2021. So if they were on the Coastal side, they might have been the winners of the Coastal. They might have been playing for an ACC championship. So Dave Doeren has every right to say, hey, in this Atlantic Division, we have Clemson. We have the top team of our entire conference in the ACC. So if we're behind the top team, we're kind of overshadowed by the fact that they might go 11-1 or 12-0. But here we are winning 8 to 9 games a season, and we're not getting into the ACC championship game where the Coastal champion may only have 7 or 8 wins. So he has every reason to put up a stink about it. And not that he did, but I'm saying he has every reason, NC State has every reason to say, hey, we need to change this, get rid of divisions, because with all due respect, NC State, in 3 of these seasons, I would say at least one of them, if not all 3 of them, they would be playing potentially for the ACC championship against a team like Clemson. So I definitely can understand the sentiments there, because then even more so, all the positives that I have to say about Dave Doeren, his resume would improve even more, right? Played in 3 ACC championship games, coached in 3 ACC championship games since 2013 when he came in. So, I think if times were different, then NC State would have been in the ACC championship. Whether they won or lost, they still would have competed within it. And, Pittsburgh got embarrassed by Clemson. Pittsburgh's been good under Pat Narduzzi, was no match for Clemson. NC State is a pain in the butt for Clemson these last few seasons. Like I said, if they got to play twice, play once in the regular season and play once in the ACC championship, if NC State pushed you to the wire the first time around and didn't win, I'd love to see that game, as opposed to seeing a blowout where you play one of the Coastal Division champion and you beat them by 20 or 30. I would rather see Clemson play a tighter game against a team like NC State, which I think they would have if there weren't divisions prior to what's coming up in 2023. I continue my conversation with NC State in our ACC preview week with their quarterback, Devin Leary, on what he thought about Icky, who is his left tackle, who's now in the NFL, and who's going to take over at left tackle now.
Dan Tortora, Wake Up Call, DT.com, your left tackle, obviously moved on to the NFL. Just what you can say about what he wants to the line and who you see stepping up there to fill in those shoes as you get set for the season.
Yeah, he's a tremendous talent. I mean, there's a reason why he went 6 overall. I mean, he's an awesome player, but even an even better person. And I think that really translated to our offensive line because, I mean, those dudes do everything together. I mean, they work out together, train together, eat together, hang out together off the field. And I think, we have a bunch of dudes that are trying to compete to get that starting spot that Icky was in. But I know with the other 4 offensive linemen that we have coming back, that they hold that room to a high standard. So whoever is filling into that role, they understand that the other 4 offensive linemen will be counting on, just as they did on Icky.
So obviously, he gave respect to Icky. Give respect where respect has been earned. And not only did he give that respect to Icky, but saying like, hey, whoever that guy is going to be, this offensive line, we're going to be ready to move forward. We're going to be ready to make this thing happen. So shout out to NC State and the work that they have put forward. Like I said, a lot better of a team than they get credit for nationally because of that giant shadow cast by Clemson. But I do think that, we need to talk about them. You have to give respect where respect is earned. And I think that respect definitely has to be with NC State and the work that they've put in. And I don't feel like there's enough love for that. And I think there needs to be more for sure. And then, Icky, for what he's done, Ekwonu, for him getting into the NFL, a big-time shout-out to him, a Carolina Panther, so a 6th overall pick in the entire draft of over 240 picks. So big shout-out to Icky, as he will be blocking for somebody. Maybe it's Baker, maybe it's Darnold, maybe it's somebody else, maybe it's Matt Corral, who they drafted. We'll have to see in Carolina, as they have multiple quarterbacks. They're trying to be like the Washington Commanders right now, so we shall see. But no matter what, Icky will have them set on that left tackle position. So Devin obviously giving respect to his left tackle, and at the same time saying, okay, next man up approach. We did it. We'll continue to do it. And again, another bridge to the NFL. You might have not have known Icky when he came into NC State. You're going to get to know him now in the NFL. And hopefully you know him now after everything that NC State has done, because it's very hard to move the ball offensively without a good offensive line. Let Jacksonville tell you that. And at the same time, your blind side is extremely vital. And those tackles, what they do to take care of those rushes coming around the edge, could be from a linebacker, could be from a defensive end, could be, from a safety or a corner. So Icky's definitely done a good enough job, a great enough job to be the 6th overall pick. So a shout out to him, and I look forward to seeing what NC State will do to have that next man up approach. And knowing how Dave Doran recruits, I'm excited to see who the next man up is going to be that finds their footing there. Staying with NC State, Isaiah Moore, linebacker last year, went through an injury. He has his own clothing line and name, image, and likeness, and Drake Thomas showed him some love. So we talk about that here.
David Tortora, Wake Up Call, DT.com. I know that you have obviously, when it comes to NIL, got involved, right, in your clothing line and whatnot. Just what you can say about what your experience has been like with Image and Likeness, and what it meant to you that Drake rocked one of your shirts to show support for you.
Yeah, I think, NIL is something that's continuing to grow across our country, and it's a sport. I think obviously now is a great platform to not only build this, minds media and things of that nature. As far as Drake rocking my shirt, and that meant the world to me, considering what happened to me the week before, and the way he played, my absence that following game, it meant the world to me.
So he said it meant the world to him. Obviously going down with an injury, he thinks it's good to have name, image, and likeness, have his clothing line, right? Sean Tucker has one at Syracuse. Now he's repping, and just saw that come out over the weekend that there's an easy way to buy it. So you can get that clothing line for Isaiah Moore as well, and Drake Thomas rocking one of those shirts, and like he said, that meant the world to him. So definitely can appreciate that very much so. And Isaiah Moore's clothing line is called For the Culture Clothing Incorporated. For the Culture Clothing Incorporated is where it is through here, and so you can definitely check it out and get your Isaiah Moore merchandise today, and you could save 10% on your first purchase. So definitely make sure you check that out. And you know what? I'm all about paying it forward and helping, so I will do exactly that right now, and I will pay it forward here, and I'll share with you Isaiah Moore's clothing line here on our feed here on Facebook, and I'll also share it on the feed on YouTube as well, so you can check that out, and if you want to grab some of it, then go ahead and grab it. If you're a Syracuse fan that wants to low-key, like, yo, Dan, don't tell nobody, like, I didn't hear nothing, I didn't see nothing, you know what I mean? So, I mean, I get to know a lot of these players by the grace of God around the country, and getting to know all these players means the world to me. So yeah, I mean, of course, I'm here. I mean, I get to know a lot, covering Syracuse, and
means
building
the world to
relationships
me.
here with
So
with the
yeah, I mean,
Syracuse
of
players,
course.
but I'm also building relationships with teams around the country, including all the teams in the ACC. And so I very much appreciate and I'm thankful for those. And so I mean, some of my favorite guys have come from NC State, right? And definitely a fan of Bradley Chubb, who went on to the Denver Broncos, continues to compete in the NFL. So I'm excited to, see what Isaiah Moore is going to do, and what Drake Thomas and Devin Leary and company. Drake Thomas, who wore that Isaiah Moore shirt to show him some love for the culture, was with me as well, as we had the opportunity to speak with Drake Thomas about his versatility, as he had to play in different parts. He had to come play in the middle at linebacker when Isaiah Moore went out. He's played inside, outside, and this is what he had to say.
Drake, Tortora, we can call DT.com. The versatility that you have now going into this season, having to fill in for Isaiah, and then having an experience in the middle as well as on the outside, just what you could say, how it's improved your game and what you bring to the table now in that linebacker unit.
Yeah, so I've seen, I played on the field from all three linebacker positions now, Mike, Will, and Sam. Going into Louisville week when I had to fill in at Mike, I hadn't played Mike in 2 years, maybe since my freshman year, spring, something like that. So it was a little bit new, but every single thing that I've had to do, whether it was split positions and adjust or whatever, it's made me that much better of a player and a person to just have to adapt and continue to push forward and do whatever I can do to get the defense going and play the best of our ability.
So Drake Thomas, a danger zone here, as NC State's a tough out, in my opinion. And if people are paying attention to the ACC, NC State is a tough out for anybody, right? They're gonna if they're bringing it to Clemson, then they're gonna be bringing it to everybody. Clemson is the top of that Atlantic Division, and NC State, playing through the Atlantic Division for the last year of divisions, has to play Boston College and play Florida State and play Louisville and play Syracuse, and it's like I said, on top of playing Clemson, you're getting these other piece, play Wake Forest and whatnot. So there's a lot that they're going to have to go up against, and NC State is hung with the best of them, right? There's a reason why Dave Doran's winning 8 to 9 games a season more often than not. So, Drake Thomas being versatile is definitely an asset to this team, and having to step in and be the next man up, right? Now you know how to switch in there, help out where Isaiah Moore was, or go back to where you are. And you talk about getting comfortable. Well, if you had experience at the middle linebacker as well as both of your outside backers there, then really anywhere you go, you can, if you hone your talent, you do what you need to do, and you understand your defense, you can have success at any piece of that. So that definitely is good for Drake Thomas for NC State. It's good for it's good for Drake Thomas for his versatility, and it's good for him to push himself and challenge himself and get better, right? There's no such thing as, in my opinion, knowing too much information, having too much knowledge and wisdom, because the more you have, the more you can help, the more you can grow, the more you can evolve and learn. So I think it's fantastic that he's had this experience. I think it's great for NC State as a team, and I think it's great for his NFL draft stock. So shout out to Drake Thomas, and hopefully Isaiah Moore will stay healthy so that they can together push NC State forward, as I think NC State is capable of potentially giving Clemson a really good game this season, as well as finishing in the top 2, top 3 in the Atlantic Division of the ACC. So with that being said, in this ACC kickoff week, this preview week that we have, I want to thank NC State for being a part of the broadcast here. We will have plenty coming up this week, as the entire week is dedicated to the ACC, among other things that we have in store for you on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora to kick off August here in 2022. And we will be back here to wrap up the show right after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. As always, we thank you for being here and for being a part of the show from inside of the Cafe Kubal studios.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
This is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York, open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
Witty Wicks Candles and Gift Shop, Township 5, Camillus, where you will find handcrafted all-natural soy wax candles over 60 cents to freshen up your home. We carry a wide range of locally made items, Cuse, Syracuse Salt, and Chocolate Pizza Company, to name a few. Let our knowledgeable staff help choose unique gifts and keepsakes for any occasion. Gifts for family and friends, and maybe a little something for yourself. Witty Wicks Candles and Gift Shop, Township 5, Camillus.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Cafe Kubal studios here with ACC Preview Week. We were able to bring you Syracuse, Boston College, Florida State, and NC State, and we will continue the coverage coming up here throughout the entire week. Every single one of the 14 member institutions in the ACC for football will be here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and my Q&As one-on-one with the coaches of every single institution and student-athlete representation of every single institution will be on its way for you. So you have the 4 here today. You have plenty coming up this week for the ACC preview week inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, and you can tune in live every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube.com, Facebook.com, and MixLR.com, all /WakeUpCallDT, and on Facebook.com /LiveNowDT, including on WakeUpCallDT.com. This is worldwide. You can go to any one of these avenues to watch and listen to the broadcast every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Once the shows go live, they go into our archives, and you can find us on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, MixLR, Player FM, Podbean, Podvine, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on any one of these outlets, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. A big thanks to our Central and Upstate New York partners, Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Witty Wicks, PB&J's Lunchbox, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Avicoli's, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Millhouse Market, Honda City of Liverpool, Pizza Man, Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, Chick-fil-A Cicero, and Chick-fil-A Clay, and Mother's Cupboard. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is also the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It is Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Every single month of the year, you have AD and DT. We took a little bit of a break here for the last couple of weeks, allow some time for different things to be going on here, and Lemoyne Dolphins will be joining us this Wednesday, and every first and third Wednesday of each month, we have Bob Beretta, the athletics director of Lemoyne College, every first and third Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time for AD and DT. Bob will be joining me this week on August 3rd at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, and very excited to have him as always. We'll have every second and fourth Wednesday the Dolphin Dive, where we dive into stories from student athletes, coaches, administration, as well as future Dolphins and alumni. You can get our entire archive by going to the Lemoyne tab on wakeupcalldt.com, which I suggest you do. You can also subscribe to us for all Lemoyne content on youtube.com /wakeupcalldt, and you can watch live when it happens, and you can automatically get it in the archive same day. And for more information on your Dolphins, go to LeMoyneDolphins.com. The Marywood University Pacers are also exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Our Pacer Pride special segments come to you every Friday to round out the week around 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time with student athletes as well as the administration and coaches of Marywood University. Very excited to bring you Pacer Pride. That's exactly what I have, and it's exactly what the segment is called. That comes to you Fridays at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, you can get your Pacer content by going to the Marywood tab on wakeupcalldt.com and bookmarking and saving that, subscribing to wakeupcalldt.com, and subscribing to youtube.com /wakeupcalldt to watch the Pacers live and to watch them back in the archive. For more information on those amazing Pacers of Scranton, Pennsylvania, you can connect with them, and they're just 2 hours south from Syracuse, almost a direct straight line. Great to think about going to if you have a student or student athlete looking for a school. Marywood University. More information, marywoodpacers.com. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse bring you the Bobcat Buzz every single month. We've already had a ton of great stuff coming up to round out July. We'll have more for you here in August as the Bobcats are here with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora as exclusive multimedia marketing partners. We've had them out at Cafe Kubal with Alex Grigorita, a national champion, assistant AD, and women's soccer head coach at Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse for the Bobcats. We've also had Clay Gagan Sherman, who started the women's basketball program before taking the job as the men's basketball head coach for this upcoming season. He was just with me at Cafe Kubal in our community. And, of course, we've been on site on location for a Bobcat Buzz takeover of all of Wake Up Call, and we've done some great stuff on site on location, including most recently being there for signing day for the men's basketball team and having the pictures of 5 of the signees, as well as an exclusive conversation with Darren Joyner, who comes from NCAA Division II Catawba College, to join the Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse here in our community. And so definitely check out all of our content on the BSC SYR tab on wakeupcalldt.com. Bookmark it and save it. And for live coverage as well as the archive coverage, subscribe to us on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. For more information on your Bobcats, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. Here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, we thank you for being a part of the show. I'm ecstatic that today is the first month of August and the first show of the week, and this is ACC Preview Week. I am so much looking forward to everything we have with the ACC coming up this week. You've heard from Syracuse, Boston College, Florida State, and NC State. Plenty more coming up this week from all of the other 10 schools that we have here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So don't miss a moment of our ACC Preview Week, as well as our Ingredients to Success from Avicoli's, Annoying Moment of the Week from Carvel DeWitt, Lead, Learn, Evolve, Ad-Lib, and Deliver from Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, the announcement of our Top Dog of the Week from Canine Camp Dog Daycare and Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Papa Joe, Fantasy Football, as well as AD&DT with Lemoyne and Pacer Pride with Marywood University. An awesome week of all of the things that we have for you throughout each month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, adding in the fact that we are giving you ACC Preview Week, previewing the entire conference with my Q&As, direct question and answers with every single coach and student athletes representing every single one of the 14 institutions. Plenty more to come. Always excited to have it. Thank you to all my guests today. I don't want to miss anybody. So a big shout out and a thank you to Syracuse with head coach Dino Babers, left tackle Matt Bergeron, linebacker Michael Jones, quarterback Garrett Schrader. And I didn't let y'all know, if you didn't know, that Bergeron's from Victoriaville, Quebec, Canada, Michael Jones from Miami, Florida, and Garrett Schrader from Charlotte, North Carolina. So he came home to do the ACC kickoff, which I thought was really cool. And a big time shout out from Boston College. A big thanks to head coach Jeff Halfley, D-back Josh DeBerry, and wide receiver Zay Flowers for joining the show. Want to thank Florida State's head coach Mike Norvell, D-tackle Fabian Lovett, DB Jamie Robinson, and quarterback Jordan Travis. And NC State would like to thank head coach Dave Doran, quarterback Devin Leary, and linebackers Isaiah Moore and Drake Thomas. In the meantime, find us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, the Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. Head out to Cafe Kubal, 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, and 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, New York. And, of course, on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, and on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners. Make sure you get out there today in North Syracuse to their drive-through location. God bless. No